Going live momentarily. I see us live on Restream. Zach, as you know, we usually take the first few minutes to double check that all the services are working properly.
Yes.
Yeah, no worries.
And this, of course, is the first live show. So if the only thing that happens is you have to run and grab a second chair while while Vlad is pressing the go live button,
Well,
that is not a terrible thing.
we'll have done good.
We will
Double
have done good. Hey, Jordan. Cool. But no, so I see us on LinkedIn. You see us live on everywhere else, Vlad?
I do. Yeah, and I
Cool.
guess if people are wondering what's going on with different setup slash layout, a couple of things. So I guess Monday, right? So we wanted to test a different time, but also it gave us an opportunity for Dave to be on site. So he's currently at the Phoenix Contact headquarters. Is there like a specific name of the building or location that you typically
It's
use?
our U.S. headquarters. This is Zach Stank, by the way, everybody. It's our U.S. headquarters in Middletown, Pennsylvania, technically, but it's Harrisburg, right outside of Hershey.
Awesome, but yeah, no, it's cool for Dave to be able to be on site. It's
I will say we are in the lobby though, so if there's any general traffic or chatter, I apologize. We
Yes.
shouldn't get a ton, but if anything loud happens, I apologize.
Absolutely. So I would also like to point out before we talk a couple of community comments to start us off. They have robotic lawnmowers. Now there's a list a mile long of really awesome things that I want to talk about and what Phoenix Contact USA is doing here. But they have robotic lawnmowers, and I'm not sure you've lived until you've pulled up to an all glass, I don't know, couple 100,000 square foot manufacturing facility, and there are just robotic lawnmowers going everywhere. So yeah, that was very interesting. But no, as we're letting everyone come in, everyone welcome to the show. Again, as Vlad mentioned, this is going to be a slightly different show, slightly different time, slightly different day of the week. And mostly we have Zach here in person, as you guys can see up in the top corner up there. We are at Phoenix Contact USA, who is our sponsor of the systems integrator theme. So let me get that out and say thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're glad to sponsor you guys. Fantastic stuff you have going on.
No, perfect. And so now, Zach, this is probably the second time you've heard it, but I do it every episode. So I feel compelled to embarrass Vlad just a little bit. So as everyone may or may not know, Vlad runs a fairly successful YouTube channel, a very successful YouTube channel called Solus PLC, almost 25,000 subscribers. Hey, everyone watching Solus PLC. We are on the race for a silver play button, right? So the only thing we're missing up in one of these corners over here is Vlad with the silver play button. So if you have not yet, please go and please go and hit subscribe to that. And while you're doing that, please subscribe to all the Manufacturing Hub things. Check us out. I'll generally say you guys can find us live every Wednesday at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, but now here we are Monday at 2:30 East Coast time. So guys, go check out manufacturinghub.live where you can find all of that information. Guys, check manufacturinghub.live for all of that information. I don't have any events coming up later this week because it's Monday and I have no idea what's going on, but follow us on LinkedIn if you guys have thoughts or questions surrounding that. Am I missing anything important before we jump in, Vlad?
I think it's important. Dave's been in a car literally for the last 8 hours.
No, it's only been like 5.5 hours. I do have a little bit of dog dirt on my pants, but luckily we're below the camera level, so you guys cannot see the dog dirt. He rolled in mud right before we left. But no, I am happy to be here. But no. Let's hit it. Everyone.
Well, I was gonna add one thing. Sorry, Dave. Before you dive into it, so Frank Lam is having another one of his mastering the machine webinars, which at least I've been paying close attention to because there's a lot of really interesting technologies. He talks a lot about some of the new ways of doing things. I think last time it was Raspberry Pi. This time he's bringing somebody to talk about like IoT and just like general applications of such hardware. And so that's going to be on November 5th. So this Friday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 he wrote a PM Eastern, but it should be 11 a.m. Eastern time. So this Friday, November 5th, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Mastering the Machine from Frank Lam. I think that's, again, I think he's putting on some like great shows for the community, and definitely worth attending.
No, absolutely. I always like Frank shows. I didn't realize that he has announced it already. Those are most of the time I find them midweek. But no, thank you, Vlad. But everyone, welcome to Manufacturing Hub with me, Dave, and this guy over here, Vlad. We have somehow managed to reach episode 36, and so being on a strange even number, we are both bringing back our favorite safety guest, Zach Stank, and also are live at Phoenix Contact. So Zach, this feels weird being able to look at you and say it as opposed to on the camera. But welcome to the show, Zach.
Thanks. I appreciate. I said it in my first episode. I was going to repeat. 6 episodes late, but I'm back, and I'm glad you could be here in person. We're more than happy to have you guys down here. And Vlad, you're next. Once the borders get figured out, we'll get you down here and do some in-person stuff as well.
Yeah, I think actually, like on a small side note, Canada's opening borders. I think it's November 8th for ground travel. So definitely would be some opportunities. But I think the borders have been open in terms of flights. So next time for sure. But no, thank you so much for coming back. I know that we had some very long discussions, especially like on safety, that I certainly want to dive into in a few minutes. But I also want to get your maybe perspective on like systems integration in general, and maybe how do the partnerships from Phoenix Contact work with systems integrators. Is there maybe a program that you guys are trying to work on? Do you work with distributors that then work with systems integrators? And just wanted to get you maybe give us a couple of thoughts on what the long-term plans are to get us started.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question, Vlad. So we have a multi-tiered strategy here in the United States, mainly based around just our regular distributor channel. So you can find some of our distributors local. We have national distributors and online distributors. They're all fantastic. But we also do have a systems integrator partner group that we work with. So that's a bunch of system integrators. And for us, it really gets us closer to the end user, right? It allows us to really help out in some niche markets where we might not be able to see that, say, on a grand scale of a distributor just providing product. But it is very important for us, and maybe a little tease here, especially for Industry 4.0 and IIoT stuff. We recognize that system is that integrator channel is important too. So some interesting things coming probably in the next few months from us on that as well.
Oh, that is very exciting. So I'd like to make a very interesting point. So before this, Zach was giving me a tour of the facility, and one of these interesting tidbits that I learned is that basically everything that all of the machines that Phoenix Contacts uses to manufacture, be it the cord sets or be it the IPCs or otherwise, or their pick and place systems, all are running Phoenix Contact hardware.
That's
and
correct.
So you'll go look in these cabinets, and the cabinets will all be glass. And I looked at Zach, and I'm like, Zach, it feels like we're on a trade show floor, only we're actually manufacturing on these. And at first, Zach looks and he's like, oh yes, I think we actually did take this to a trade show once. But they're all open, so you can go see all of the Phoenix Contact inside the machines that they use to manufacture, which I think is very cool. Kind of the walking your own walk. And using your own products.
Yeah, it's the confidence that we have in our own product line. Obviously, if the manufacturer doesn't use it to manufacture their products, why would I buy it? Mm-hmm. So, we've even had instances of products and new robots and things being built here that didn't have, say, a competitive part that we make. Mm-hmm. So we've had them rip it out and put it in our stuff. So it did cost us extra money to do that, but we do want Phoenix Contact parts building Phoenix Contact parts.
Well, Zach, maybe that should have been my first question. Do you want to give us, again, like an overview of what's done at the site? Obviously, omitting any proprietary type of information, but just curious, what kind of, are you manufacturing all the hardware? Are there certain, lines of hardware that you'd be focused on there? Like, what's being done at that site?
Yeah, so we have here in Harrisburg, we have our manufacturing arm, we have our engineering arm, and then we also have our sales support arm. So sales support is where I work. I'm in marketing, and we're actually sitting in the lobby of the tower where I would normally sit on a day-to-day basis. So that's all of our marketing, all of the sales management, all of the executive management sits in this area. And then all the way down on the other end, we have our manufacturing and engineering center. Mm-hmm. So that we call that our RBU, our regional business unit. they will design and develop products in Harrisburg that are used internationally. So for instance, we have a new product, Axioline P, which is a process focused Profinet to Profibus DP to PA type application that was all developed and built here. It's got hot swap capability. Sorry, I'm going into marketing mode, but that is all designed right down the road. Literally down the hallway we walk down.
Yes.
They did all the design there, and manufacturing, I believe, happens partially here, partially in Germany for that.
Just to get more info on that Axioline, sorry, that's the I/O that integrates into PLCNext, right, and plays very nicely with the PLCNext platform, correct?
The Axioline is the hardware base that is on the PLCNext.
Mhm.
The PLCNext uses Axioline F,
Right.
and Axioline P is a new version of that is specifically for the process channel.
Gotcha.
Again, and if it sounds like I'm talking nonsense and you're not used to it, it's Profinet to Profibus DP to PA coupler, which basically allows you to take DP communications, get all your PA infrastructure in there, and then communicate back up Profinet to like a higher level controller. So whether that's a PLCNext or a Siemens, Yokogawa, whatever it is. So that's a brand new technology. We're launching that next month. So
I love this because every time I talk to Zach's like, here, let me tell you something that we kind of sort of have like launched, but we shouldn't really talk about. But here, let me give you this exclusive link, and you can look at the the new edge gateway or the new protocols and converters.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd be a bad marketer if I didn't tell you were getting something exclusive every time you talk to me. So,
absolutely.
But to finish up my last thought, so we do have engineering down here, and then we do manufacturing as well. So there are certain made in America products, big ones being North American cord sets. So if you have custom cables that you need made, we do custom lengths, but we also do stock lengths, and we stock a lot of that here. We also do value add. So if somebody wants a rail specifically made with Phoenix Contact product, we will build it, wire it, and ship it to you here. And then we also have our IPC production. And we were talking about this when we were over there. The IPC production is really neat because when you order an IPC, specific IPCs that are made here in the United States, they're not only built, they're built in and tested here. So when we say 5 days shipping, from order entry to 5 days shipping, it is, if the parts are here, we build it here and ship it to you in the United States. So, and I actually think we ship to Mexico and to Canada.
Interesting.
So.
No, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, Vlad and I have been having a lot of discussions about IPCs in particular, and Vlad is going down this IPC rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You see all of the PLCs behind him, and he's nearly kicking them over as he tries to get up to step over everything. But we've gone down this IPC rabbit hole on what can we use IPCs for versus PLCs versus kind of everything else. Excuse me, along those lines. So, in the last 2 or 3 years, have you guys seen an uptick of people purchasing IPCs?
Yeah, it comes down to what the customer is trying to do. We've certainly had the one-offs that are trying to do something that you shouldn't do on a PLC, or the other way around, something you shouldn't do on an IPC and just shoving it in there. But the more that we develop product, the more we see the need, kind of that blend where an integrated system that is running, say, Windows 10 manufacturing edition is perfect to have a display on your machine. One of the things I like to say when we do our trainings is IPCs and HMIs are your visualization into that machine. So if I go to buy a car and I open up my car and it looks like the car was built in 2020, but on the inside, it has like just regular knobs and like roll down windows and stuff like that, clearly you're missing something. So if you have a really nice IPC, an HMI, something that you can help visualize what's going on in that machine, it really helps that end customer understand what's happening. So we've seen, and we've actually launched a few products in the last couple of years, kind of that edge of, is it a PLC, is it a PC type thing? So that's, a BPC, an EPC, it's a basic PC and an edge PC. Sorry, I'm using Phoenix Contact 3-letter initializations. I apologize to everybody, but this is my daily lexicon is three-letter abbreviations, or initializations, I'm sorry. So there's been a fantastic growth in that market. I think we're up close to 50% in IPC HMI business right now, which is fantastic. And the biggest thing is having the manufacturing here and being able to have custom builds for custom, you get a custom part number then, and you can just order it directly from us, directly from one of our distributors. And then it ships direct from Phoenix Contact USA.
I'd be curious, Zach, on that same discussion, if you see maybe certain industries be more lenient towards using, let's say, PLCs versus IPCs, or the other way around. Like if you have any data that would suggest, what, like let's say oil and gas is more prominent to use IPCs versus, I don't know, food and beverage is more still like stuck kind of in PLCs. I think that too would be like very interesting to know.
Yeah, so like you said, Vlad, it does depend on the industry. Typically, for I would say big process heavy things like that, process, oil and gas, food and bev, they're going to want a full SCADA package. They want to be able to see exactly what's going on in the entire plant. So plant wide, they might have a large SCADA, which is certainly not a PLC. That's a very different thing.
Right.
That's very high end PCs running everything and gathering that information back. But on say like a single scale, if I'm at an automotive manufacturer and I have a one-off weld cell that passes on to maybe the car body placement, I would have individual HMIs or PLCs there telling me and indicating what's going on, and in some cases controlling the actual application. And the difference between PLC and IPC, and some people can get confused by all of it, is if you're going to run a PLC type program on an IPC, you need to make sure that it's real-time ready. So there are some that you can run. So for example, you could run a soft PLC on an IPC. That would work really well if you're doing something small scale. The more you get bigger and bigger into your application, obviously it's nice to have an IPC because you then can scale the processor, scale the hard drive, that type of stuff. But then you also have to make sure that you're scaling your program that you're using as well. So you'll see the low end type stuff, small individual cells, but then it does get fairly big. I mean, if you've lived right next to Hershey Park, so Hershey Park has HMI IPCs on just about everything that they run, so the operators can see what's happening.
Yeah, and go ahead, Dave, go ahead.
I was going to say, now, Zach, the question that Vlad would normally ask is, I like that, but have you ever seen anyone do it just in the cloud?
Just in the cloud? Okay. So maybe not the control piece in the cloud, but certainly all the data. Absolutely. And that's what we're seeing more and more. And one of the things that we've been talking about, you guys have talked with Ira a bunch too, Ira Sharp, and he's the director of our automation products here, is the drive for IIoT Industry 4.0 has led everything to the cloud. So in that case, you want to make sure that whatever you're running has the connections, whether it's MQTT, OPC UA, Sparkplug, whatever you're trying to do, you want to be able to enable that piece to get to the cloud. And the easier that is, the easier it is for the end customer to do what they need to do.
Yeah, and I mean, not to say that it's easy to do. I think there's a lot of challenges associated with that. There's a lot of, I think, still unknowns, even if you were to just pass data, like cybersecurity. I think it's a very important topic that's still being discussed by many companies, right? But I think it's also important to have a budget allocated to R&D to see how we can leverage some of this new technology. I certainly don't think that the way we've done this for the last 30 years should be the answer, as it certainly is in a lot of plants, that I at least encounter. But no, I certainly think that there's going to be opportunity in the next
I would say
decade.
Vlad, that's absolutely valid. It's absolutely valid what you're saying. And that's one of the biggest hurdles we face as an OEM manufacturer, is being on that cutting edge of development. And then because we do have customers that want to do this, they want to do it now, and they're early adopters, but then you have the mass users out there that are going to be, oh gosh, I don't want this in the cloud. I'll get hacked or something like that, which is still a threat. It's a very valid point.
And you should be cautious, right? Like to that point, like I don't think that I'm suggesting let's migrate all your controls into the cloud tomorrow and see what happens. Like it has to be like very incremental. Like let's try things. Let's try and understand like what are the issues, what are the potential roadblocks. But ultimately, again, I think like everything will improve as like even your ISP connection, right? Like in some remote sites, I agree that it's difficult to get a reliable connection, but that will steadily improve. Same as like the cloud services, the availability is going to improve. But anyways, that's probably going to take a couple of years, maybe a decade to migrate controls. What are your thoughts on safety? So I know that again, there's some vendors that are doing safety, and I know that I'm certainly not as well versed in all the like code compliance when it comes to safety, but can you do safety reliably on like an IPC device that's not like a certified controller?
Well, if it's not a certified safety controller, the answer is no.
Well, not a
However,
controller on an IPC, right? Like it's a Linux or Windows machine.
so
What are your thoughts on running safety
yeah,
equipment? Because it is done in the field, right? So
yeah. So I mean, so that it depends on what your definition of safety is there, Vlad, which is a very roundabout way of saying it's hard for me to say because safety is what you make it in the United States. So if I claim something, I might be using an e-stop, but I'm just using it as a shutdown. And for some reason, I still have it labeled as an e-stop. I've seen that everywhere. And I'll go, oh, you need a relay in between there. And they say, no, it's just a stop. And I was like, well, you realize you're using an emergency stop and not a stop. And then, so it gets into minutia of that. But I would say unless, and so I do have an example of a customer, and I won't name them because it is their proprietary system. They use a Linux platform, but they've developed and got it certified.
Okay.
They're not too far from here, and they're in the entertainment industry. But they do have a Linux platform that is running essentially a FSOE, so functional safety over EtherCAT kernel, which you can do. It just takes some development time to do it and a lot of know-how. But as far as in the cloud, I would say you could probably do it in the cloud if you wanted to. The thing with safety, and we've done this wireless to a less extent, you can do safety over wireless too. The biggest thing just becomes response time.
Mhm.
And for a lot of people, if I'm running a big saw or if I have a press and I'm taking local information, sending it somewhere else to get processed and then bringing it back down, that might increase my my time to safe stop like to a second and a half, which isn't great.
Lot.
Yeah, it's not. So you should probably do things like that need to be done locally. And then what I would say is important for safety in the cloud is to get that information somewhere.
Mhm.
So if I hit an e-stop, I would like to get that notified that, hey, someone hit an e-stop in here. Let's log it. Let's figure out when it was.
Mhm.
And then I can identify, okay, we've had 7 e-stops in the last week. Is this someone not using the machine right? Is there something wrong with the machine? What's going on? And then we can diagnose and go ahead and fix it after that. So I'm not going to come out right and say that, no, you can't do it on the cloud. Absolutely, you could if you wanted to. I don't recommend it, but you certainly want to get your safety stuff reported back into the cloud.
No, I like that. And before Vlad continues to take us down this this tangent, we've had a lot of like really good bits and pieces of safety conversations in the past with Zach, with John. We had a good conversation with Allie when she was on a few weeks ago. I'd be interested to know if sometime next year people would be interested in doing like a whole theme about safety where we've got experts coming on with different topics to talk about that. I know every time we talk to an expert like Zach, I know Vlad and I always learn a lot. I've had more conversations in the last 2 months about what makes something an e-stop versus what makes it just a normal stop than I have had in my entire life combined. So, but
I was
please,
part of
like,
some of those discussions with Dave.
no, they're good conversations, and that's why I'm interested to know if other people would be interested if we were to put together a larger theme with the topic of safety.
Well, I mean, I can answer that question while we wait for some of the listeners. I certainly, from my experience, I've learned how safety even works or functions from other engineers, right? So when I was at facilities just starting out and got my controls training, then I would be, again, peered by an engineer that has 10, 15 years, and he would explain to me what are the different like safety levels, what are the requirements, but I've never been through like an official training that would again like break this down. So that was going to be my follow-up question to Zach. Is there like a body or maybe a certification authority that would administer training specific to safety that someone who's currently in automation might be able to either attend or read up more about to kind of understand what safety truly entails? Because I think there's, as you were alluding to, there's a lot of misinformation and kind of a free-for-all in many factories. What's the proper way of learning safety in automation?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Vlad. I would say if you're looking for certification to be what we would call a functional safety engineer, functional safety practitioner, there are facilities throughout the world in which you can go to. Locally here, we've partnered with a company called Exida, EXIDA. They do safety certification for not only components, but they'll also do it for full systems, and they'll come in and do safety training locally at a facility. If you're looking for others, I mean, we use the TUV, and there's many different versions of the TUV. I know there's a TUV US as well. Hopefully, maybe they're tuned in. They could put a link down in the bottom, but they'll offer safety training to get you that certification if that's what you're desiring. If you're looking for just someone to come and kind of explain what safety is to you, get a general knowledge of e-stops, relays, that kind of thing, how to hook things up. We actually offer that. We offer it through our distribution channel. So we offer it mainly to our distributors and our salespeople, but we'd be more than welcome to host anybody that wants to do it. And I think we have 5 scheduled for next year, hopefully on the road. We try to get around. So it'll be 2 in Houston, 1 in Ann Arbor, 1 here in Harrisburg, and then another one out west to be determined. I think it'll be in probably
Utah.
Ira,
if you're listening, you want to send Zach to Utah.
I love Utah.
We also
if there would be an online version too, that would be, I think, like awesome for, again, those who aren't able to maybe attend in person.
Yep.
But anyways, we can iron out the details when it's when it gets closer.
We do have an online version of that, which was adapted over the last year, obviously because we can't travel, or we hadn't been able to travel. But we do have an online option if that's something someone would want to learn and do. They can certainly contact me or through Vlad and Dave. We can get them in one of those classes.
No, I like that. And kind of going along with what you were saying, Zach, things have changed significantly in the last couple of years. And something I feel like I should have known, but I didn't necessarily know, is Phoenix Contact. You guys have been around for 98 years. You guys are almost to the 100th year anniversary. Yeah. Can you kind of give everyone, much like me, who is not here, a brief background of, where you guys are globally and specifically how things have changed over the last couple of years?
So, I mean, over the last few years, I can specifically say things have changed a lot. But if we back it up, we started in the U.S. market in 1981 is when, so we're actually 40 years. This is our 40-year anniversary this year. So, yep, we did it. And so, for our international organization, we started in 1923. So that was out in Berlin. Since then, they've moved out of Berlin and now are in Blomberg. So if you don't know where Blomberg is, it's south of Hanover, and you take a couple trains, you'll get there. But it's beautiful. It reminds me of Central Pennsylvania a lot, but that's our headquarters. But then we have facilities all over the United States, all over the world, and in the United States. We have 3 centers of competency: Harrisburg, Ann Arbor, and Houston. But we have a Canadian subsidiary, Mexico, all throughout Asia, Europe, you name it. We certainly have someone there to get you what you need and help you with your decisions on automation parts. But the other part is, even just over the last 2 years, I mean, we typically, me and my colleagues, we'll go to Germany, we'll visit Hanover Fair, which is the largest fair for industrial products in the world. That's been remote. I think the last 2 years, this past year was remote. They had Hanover Fair before that in 2020, I think. No, that would have been April. No, they didn't have it. They had it offline. I'm sorry, I'm getting my years confused. But so certainly online trade shows, things like that have done a lot. And then the ability to use programs that connect you, like Zoom and Teams and things like that, has really helped enable a lot of the communication between, Germany and the United States, or the United States and even Japan or China, where we have other big centers of competency. We want to make sure that we can be a more global company. And this has certainly pushed us into that, being able to meet on basically a, drop of a dime. We can call up somebody from another subsidiary as long as they're awake. I don't like waking people up, but we can certainly do that and get global business done.
No, absolutely. And so you were saying that you guys can go ahead and scale up as needed within the facility. And it seems like there's been a lot of investment in the last couple of years to meet, continued and increased demands. And Absolutely. So as product comes in, you guys can easily go ahead and ship that out. And it seems like you guys have a fair amount of product. You're just walking the floor, which is not a given in this day and age.
So we were on our tour, and I was showing Dave our brand new logistics facility that was finished, I think in 2019. We finished it at the end of 2019. So it's got double the amount of automated picking, packing stations that we had before. There's several robots that go down a huge aisle, and it's, I don't know, 100 feet high or something like that. There's a lot of product in there. And then we've actually expanded that to, it could get doubled again if we need to. But what Dave was talking about, we have a lot of pallets sitting out right now, and we must have just had a few containers arrive. because there were some sitting out there waiting to be unpacked.
Yes.
So,
well, they heard I was coming, so they packaged a bunch of pallets with nothing in them to make it look good.
No, there's stuff in there. I promise you, there are things in there. It's either they were either getting ready to come in or go out. I wasn't sure because we didn't go all the way down. But yeah, it's really been. And the other thing we just finished, I didn't even get a chance to show you this, is we just put a brand new solar panel farm on top of that building.
Oh wow!
So I think it's like 409 kilowatts or something like that of sun power.
The building is all glass, right?
Yeah.
They don't need anything more reflective on the top of that. But now we're 100% glass at the Phoenix Contact building.
So it's definitely been a challenge logistically, in the last 2 years. But Phoenix Contact, not only here in the U.S., they also did the same expansion in Germany and several other places. So we know that logistics are key to a good company, good shipping, and we have by far the best logistics people here. And I'll say that hands down against anybody. Doug Ferguson, I actually just saw him the other day on a meeting. He's doing a fantastic job over here, just name dropping people now, but his whole team, and he'll tell you right away, it's not him, it's his team, but they've done a fantastic job, working with our suppliers, making sure we get product in and we can get it out to people.
Zach, can you remind us which product lines are you working with today? Because I know we talked a little bit about safety, but you've moved on from that, I would say, like past experience, still kept the knowledge, obviously, but which products are you working with nowadays?
Yeah, so I manage the control, safety, and IO product lines. That doesn't talk about everything that I do because I mentioned the process stuff, which falls under some of the IO product, but there's a number of different like gateways and things that we sell, and D-sub connectors, which is funny that it falls under an automation product line, but that goes back to old Profibus days. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff that I am in charge of, and lights. I always forget. Lights, yeah, cabin lights.
I think that's exactly what you said last time.
I do every time I talk about, I forget about lights. It's the easiest automation product I've ever seen. So, D-subs might give them a run for the money, but yeah, I have a broad team that goes through everything. But control, safety, IO is really the main three that we focus on here at my group.
Under control, do you also do the IPCs? Does that fall under you, or?
No, so it doesn't fall under me, and this is kind of like a murky water because we do have an IPC manager name. His name is Bjorn Falke, and he works here in the U.S. He's lived here for a long time, but he does IPCs. But now we have IPCs that are getting like PLCNext runtime on them. Yep. So from his point of view, it's a controller because it has PLCNext runtime. From my point of view, it's an IPC because I don't have the communication or the long relationships that he does with some of his people. So
interesting.
It's a shared product, really. And then HMI is, of course, again, under Bjorn as well. So.
Interesting. So before Vlad takes us down that, what I'd really like to do is to have him give me this awkward laugh so I can talk about the Phoenix Contact product that we're talking about, and then ask Zach about the Phoenix Contact PLCNext Edge Gateway. So Vlad, can you get me with that awkward laugh?
It's on command. I love it.
We're gonna switch that to something else next time, but
maybe that's what Vlad keeps saying. But no, so as we mentioned, Phoenix Contact is the sponsor. So thank you guys for sponsoring the team. Absolutely. Zach and Ira, I saw you in the comments. Thank you guys for that. And so with that, as I've said, every time I talk to Zach, he gives us breaking PLCNext news. So tune into this channel for your breaking PLCNext news. With that, we're talking about the PLCNext Edge Gateway. And it's a state-of-the-art IoT and edge computing solution designed for data collection in the most demanding environments. Whether you have a small machine or an entire manufacturing floor, as they do out there, the PLCNext Edge Gateway leverages its advanced industrial design and programming openness to collect data from any device or sensor and send it directly to the cloud service of your choice. And Zach says, any data, any cloud.
Yeah, that's our tagline. You did good. I almost didn't know you were reading.
I like that. Well, I have read it 3 times now. No,
awesome.
I've read it 4 times now. Yeah. But no, so we've got a list of advantages, but I feel like, Zach, we have you here.
Yeah.
Like, can you give us a little bit more in-depth information about the PLCNext Edge Gateway? And I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the comments below for everyone.
Oh, thank you. I was going to actually say that out loud, but no, I don't have to. I appreciate it. So the link just got dropped in the comments. If you want to go to there, it gives you a little bit more about it. But you said it very well, obviously because I wrote it. But if you really want to get down into it, one of the problems that we see, especially when it comes into cloud connection and this IoT push, is that a lot of controllers don't offer that native MQTT or native AWS connection. And it can be cumbersome for, you have your CFO is saying, hey, we need to get this data somewhere. How are we going to get that? And then it goes down to a floor manager, and that floor manager looks at his, guy and says, how do we do this? And you're just like, I don't know. I can't change this. It's not our machine. Yeah. So what the PLCNext Edge Gateway is essentially it's the PLCNext hardware. So 1152, 2152 hardware from Phoenix Contact. And instead of using the control platform, there you go, Vlad's holding one up. So instead of using the control software PLCNext Engineer, we developed basically a web app that you can just download from that landing page that we had there, run it on your machine, and then you get a really simple, easy way to connect metrics from an existing control platform. So if you're using Ethernet IP, say a control Logix or something like that, you can gather some of those tags. You can add IO to the station that you're adding there. You could then do some metric manipulation, simple math, take, PV equals nRT. So if you want to do ideal gas law stuff, you can do that in that platform and then send that data up to any cloud that you want. So the idea is that it's simple, it's easy to use, and the app is actually free. So if you go online, download it now, and you have existing hardware, you can install that and work directly with a PLCNext and turn it into the PLCNext Edge Gateway.
Okay, interesting.
And there's also a cloud offering from Phoenix Contact as well. Zach, do you want to talk a little bit more about that too?
That's correct. Yeah. So thank you for reminding me, Vlad. We have, it's called the Profi Cloud, and it's native on PLCNext technology. So if you have a PLCNext, any tag that you make or any variable, you just need a checkbox and you can send it right to the Profi Cloud. Anybody that has PLCNext hardware, you're able to get, I think it's 20 free tags. Ira will correct me if I'm wrong on there. But it's 20 free tags of data that you can use from any of our hardware devices. And then you can send that right up to that cloud for easy data monitoring, or if you want to do dashboards and things like that, you can do it that way. But instead, like I said, you don't need the PLCNext Engineer hardware or software anymore. This is all integrated into the PLCNext Edge Gateway. So essentially you just go in, create a tag, and then make sure you're sending it to the right spot and you're good to go. So it's all about ease of use and thinking about the non-programmer, because a lot of times what we see is someone wants to get to the cloud, they're not the system designer, they're not the controls engineer that did it. They're probably somebody working with it downstream.
Yeah, and that's like just to kind of mention that's a discussion I'm having with many people, because at the end of the day, I think it's somewhat easy to learn the technology, right? Like everyone can grasp how to program a PLC or a control system, but the big missing piece is going to be understanding the process, which can take weeks, months, and so typically even a systems integrator that comes into a new facility would have to spend a lot of time understanding what that data is, versus if you deploy a solution that doesn't require too much technical knowledge, then your process engineers, your chemical engineers, whoever like understands that facility very well can tie in and actually know what the data is doing or is meant to represent. So I think that's ultimately where the automation industry is going.
Yeah, and the big thing with Profi Cloud that we like to say is Profi Cloud lets you get in the cloud if you don't really know what's going on. So, I mean, that's also a big step for a lot of companies, is to say, here's our cloud provider, here's what we're doing. And in a lot of instances, this is just the first time, hey, can we get this machine to the cloud? And we recognize that, 20 tags isn't a lot, but if it's your first time doing it, 20 tags could be, a couple of servos, couple of motors, output, input, that type of thing. And you already have a dashboard set up in Profi Cloud, you're ready to go. With the PLCNext Edge Gateway and PLCNext technology, whether you're using the app or you're using the hardware, we make it easy for you to get onto that cloud service, whether it's Profi Cloud, which we can expand. You can pay for more tags if you want. Of course, I welcome anybody to buy more tags from us. But we also recognize that, AWS holds a large market share. Microsoft Azure, also a large market share. People are trying to get MQTT natively off of things. Sparkplug is becoming huge in the industry. So if you want to run those things or connect to those types of things, we make it easy so that you could just hit a drop down, go to it, enable that connection. And as long as you have your key that you need for AWS, you're set up as a Greengrass device. So
no, absolutely. So I love that, because I have seen what Zach is saying. Lots of people talk about they talk about either wanting to go to the cloud, or the next logical step for them is to go to some sort of cloud hosted solution, but they don't know how to get there. And so if it's as simple as kind of pulling in an app, and now you can, create your pipeline up to the cloud, and you can go and see that it works. Seeing is believing. And if you can see that it works, then it makes sense to say, hey, we can invest in and bring some experts in, or we can pay for more tags, or we can do any of those things to kind of get to the next level. And maybe one day you'll be calling Vlad because you want to do control in the cloud.
I'm sure it will come.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will come, but no, that's interesting. And so, Zach, you guys have PLCNext available if people are interested in them. We won't say what you have to do to try to get a PLCNext starter kit, which has been a little bit of a running joke. So
it is a bit. I apologize to anybody that bought one, but Ira, I think, sold 30 in like 2 days, and which was great, but then completely wiped us out. And then, with shipping containers being lost in different areas, and just some of the general chip shortages that we've seen, we've focused on getting controllers out to the customers that need them for production now, and not for the demo kit. So I'm sorry if you've ordered one. It's been a while. We're trying our best to get them made. Just know that we are still producing controllers, but a lot of them are going into actual physical demanding applications that people need them to get things running.
Absolutely. And I would say, I don't think anyone is like upset that they can't get it. I think everyone is happy that there's so much demand that, we're shipping live controllers as opposed to starter kits. I think both James, that we talked to a couple of weeks ago, and Justin last week, I think James is waiting to get a starter kit, and he would very much like one. And I think Justin had one in his hands at one point in time and didn't realize that they're more valuable than gold at this point.
Gave it away.
And he gave it away. And Zach has told me that all of the sales and marketing people's walls have been stripped bare of PLCNext starter kits to get them out to everyone.
If I know, we have we call them ASE controls, so it's our control salespeople, and some of them have a couple demo kits that they might loan out to you. If that's something you're interested in, certainly send me a message, send Ira a message. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, that we hope by the beginning of next year we start shipping those out. And of course, we've held pricing then too, because I don't want to, we put special pricing in there so people could get demo units, and then they all got taken away, or I should say they all got bought. So, which is great for us, but we want to make sure that people that want them can get them still.
I mean, that's a good problem to have. If you can have any problem with your demo kits, is that they're too popular. They're so popular, we sell out of them as soon as we can get one in our hands.
That is true. It is a good problem.
It is absolutely
still a problem though, but it's a good problem.
But I think James, and I could be wrong on this, but he was very well treated by his local distributor. So from what I understood, they actually brought maybe not the kits, the starter kits, but they did bring actual hardware to demo for some of his projects and some of the things he's looking to do. So from what I know, there wasn't any issue getting the actual like understanding of the hardware.
Yeah, certainly check your local distributors. I know that we have a fair amount of hardware out there. So if there are distributors in your area, you can check to see if they have them. As far as online, I checked, this was last Thursday. I think Allied had 60 available, I think. So that's just hardware. That's not the kit. So if you do want one and you're okay getting one and setting it up, you could go out and check there. But certainly check in with all of our distributors. We have a fair amount of stock here of control, of course, trying to get them out to our customers, but they also exist in our channel as well.
Absolutely. And so Hank in the comments says that he wants one as well, and he may just order a PLCNext without the kit. And the PLCNext itself is a great piece of hardware, Hank. I think you'll like it. And I would imagine you probably have most of the other bits and bobs to go ahead and make it work.
Yeah, certainly. It's nice to have the IO to test it out and to do things like that. But if you just need a unit and you're looking for one right now, you should be able to find just a base 1152 or 2152 in your local distributor shelves.
Absolutely. So while we've got 10 or 15 minutes left, if you guys have questions about the PLCNext and would like to pepper Zach, this is probably the best opportunity we'll have this year in order to get those answered. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments, and we can go ahead and ask Zach about them. while we are here. And so you guys may have seen me like stare off into the distance. We're in the lobby, as Zach mentioned in the beginning, of Phoenix Contact. And it's like we're on a trade show floor, and there are these walls, and I see the PCB terminals and the blocks and connectors and everything else. And I have apparently not been to a trade show in enough time that they're all interesting again. You eventually get to a point where it's like, oh, it's another one of these colorful walls with boards on it. Now it's like, it's been so many years since I've seen these. I'm so excited to see them. But no, it is a fantastic facility. I would message Zach or Ira before you randomly show up in the facility. So I will not invite you here, but I will say that it's a beautiful facility if and when you guys bring guests back in.
Well, I mean, if someone would like to come in and visit, we can certainly do that. Again, you have to message us first. We will not just accept anybody off the street. I apologize. And we don't actually physically sell any product here. So if you have a credit card and you're looking to buy stuff, I can't help you. I mean, sorry, I can't help you. But yeah, we do require you to register as a visitor, and you need to be escorted as a guest, and you get a name tag and everything that Dave has, which is fantastic.
It is.
But yeah, actually what you're seeing, Dave, and maybe we can turn the camera around towards the end.
Spin it around.
Is this is our cabinet confidence that we're talking about here. So you may have seen Phoenix Contact talk about cabinet confidence, and it's a way to take all of our product line and break it into 7 very simple messages. Right. So, and then, we have them all organized with industry pictures all over them.
I'm going to flip the camera around. You keep talking.
I'll see how it goes.
Vlad's going to lose his mind because we did not prep for this.
Well, so now you can prove that it's live. Yeah. So there we go. So that's, we have our PCB terminal blocks and connectors and our field device connectors here. And then as you keep going around, you'll see connectivity, control. We have power and reliability. So a number of things here in the lobby. If you ever wanted to see a panel or see some of our stuff in action, we have it right here. And of course, like we said earlier, you can see all of our stuff in our manufacturing line that is using Phoenix Contact products. So
yes,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I told Vlad. So Vlad was considering making the drive down. And then Vlad looked at Google Maps and realized it's like 8 hours nonstop from Montreal to get down here. And then he's like, that wouldn't be bad. And then he realized that there'd be 8 hours on the way back in order to get back from Montreal. And so as we were getting on, I'm like, Vlad, it's probably good enough that you should have made the 8 hour drive down and the 8 hour drive back.
Well, we are located right next to, you'll see it when you're leaving here. The Harrisburg International Airport is right outside our facility, probably like 2 miles as the bird flies. But that international, it goes to Canada. So it does, I think, have trips into Toronto. I don't know about Montreal, but it definitely goes to YYZ. I know that. I've flown in there.
Zach, we have a question. Somebody left a comment saying security, Toby Strouch. And I think that, as I mentioned earlier, a very important topic, I think, that will be brought up more and more frequently, especially as we get connected on, from the sites to the cloud. So I was wondering again if maybe you'd have these answers, or I guess knowledge of like the cybersecurity layers of how the data is being transferred, because I think people will want to know that their data is definitely making it safe to the cloud.
Yeah, well, certainly. I mean, it depends on your cloud service and what they do, but generally there's encryption that happens, and I believe we encrypt at the point of sending, and then it would go to if AWS, for example, it goes to its specific address that you've had or your token that you need to get to. Internally, PLCNext was designed, and I'm going to try to remember this 5-digit code. I think it's IEC 61499 is the cybersecurity standard for control manufacturing. So that's something that we build to. It's very important to us that we do it. And of course, using a Linux operating system, everything's built off of Yocto Linux, and being open platform to us, that also enhances the safety of it and security of it as well. So I couldn't tell you specifically how each cloud provider does their encryption, but I know that is a big piece of it, is the encryption of the data that goes.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like I said, I think it's still, I guess, like I said, a concern, but also like who manages like the security aspects. Is there going to be more, again, on the end user, on the OEM? And also, as we talked about, the ownership of the marketing department, the same question comes up at the plant level. is it going to be the controls engineers owning this piece of hardware, or is it going to be, the IT department more on the application side who owns that piece of hardware software? But I mean, I think the lines are getting blurred, as you know. But
I
we'll
give you a
see.
blanket statement that if you're not involving IT in your decision for the cloud, you are going to get your IT department is going to come down on you hard immediately. So please make sure your IT administrators are involved, and we can certainly have those conversations.
I mean, there's a guest
IT.
network that you can connect to, and probably throw that IPC on.
Oh, we talked about secret computers hidden on the OT side, maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago. And then there was just like 10 minutes of agreement of, oh yes, all those secret computers that we hide that we can't let the OS update, because if the OS updates on the secret computer, the entire manufacturing floor will crash. Which we said before, and we'll say again, we do not condone or suggest secret computers hidden anywhere that the IT department doesn't know about.
Yeah, certainly get your IT department involved. And in the IT OT merge, so I think I wrote a piece about this on LinkedIn. I'll link it when I get back to my computer. But like what is happening right now, especially with IIoT Industry 4.0, is the need for the IT and the OT conversation to happen earlier. And if you're not having that conversation, or you're just doing the, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, and I equate it to what I usually say in safety. Your ignorance of a problem doesn't mean that the problem doesn't exist. It just means you don't know that it exists, right? So there are people that get upset when I say, yeah, you need to do, go out and I want you to, go through that machine and figure out what's wrong with it. And they go, no, if I do that, I'll have to fix it. It's like, you still have to fix it if there's something wrong with it. You just don't know that you have to fix it yet. It doesn't change anything. So it certainly
don't touch it. If it works, just don't touch it.
I mean, the last person to touch it always gets blamed for it.
That's right. Oh, that's true. Well, I would say when it comes to security, make sure you're doing your due diligence. And it was just National Cybersecurity Month. We had a bunch of colleagues here at Phoenix Contact doing a lot of cybersecurity awareness. One of them, of course, Miriam Caldonato. If you look her up, she had, I think, probably like 6 or 7 articles written last month. Fantastic stuff about cybersecurity. So there's certainly resources here within Phoenix Contact that can help you out with that.
No, absolutely. And I would say to cybersecurity, it's an ever-changing landscape, right? The things that we talk about today are not the things that we'll be talking about 2 years from now. Although there'll still be some people who don't have an IT portion of their manufacturing companies, and we'll have to go back to the basics that we're talking about now. But cybersecurity is an ever-changing landscape, and one of those things that you need to make sure that you have someone as part of your organization up and ready to help defend you from intruders and attackers of all kinds.
I mean, just 10 years ago, security by obscurity was pretty big. People would do that. Stuxnet changed everything, and there is no more security with obscurity. If you're not doing it, you're going to get in trouble. I guarantee you, something bad is going to happen. Hopefully, it's small scale bad and not big scale bad, but I wouldn't sit on an unprotected machine for very long. And funny enough, I used to work. I went to Penn State University, and I worked for essentially their computer help desk there. It's called ResCom. So shout out to ResCom. Anybody at Penn State watching this that's there. But we always, every semester, we had a security person come in from IT to tell us about all the bad things that were happening. And it was early 2000s, so it was a lot of worms and like viruses that were meant for destruction of your machine. And it kind of started to change into this, actually, we don't want to destroy your machine. We want to use your machine, right? And getting a type of hive mind together and stuff like that. And I think that it was an unpatched, unsecured machine lasts, I think, 5 minutes on the internet.
Oh, wow.
And until it's infected. And it might even be smaller than that. This was back in the early 2000s. So it was, I don't know if anybody ever remembers, it was Windows Messenger popped up constantly. And it was like advertisements for a bunch of stuff. I'm dating myself now, but I just remember my family PC having that problem. My dad blaming me for it. That I was like, I didn't do anything. It's literally out of the box. So.
It's okay. We blame my younger sister for breaking what was it? I think it was a DOS machine, right? That was the first machine we had. And there was a period of time she was just pounding on the keyboard. And then at some point it stopped working. I know this will surprise everyone. And we've always blamed her for breaking that. It's probably not all that different for your dad blaming you for the Windows Messenger pop-ups.
It's basically the same. I was the last one to touch it. That's basically what it came down to. Now, I will ask you, was the keyboard connected to the computer?
It was.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, she was very young, and I remember her pounding on it, and I remember her being told not to hit the keyboard quite that hard. And then I remember it stopped working, or maybe it just got so old. And then we had like 2 other computers, and it just was like, we're going to, it's probably still in the basement and worth something
Oh,
at
wow.
this point.
Yeah. It's an antique.
It is absolutely an antique.
No, but to your point, Zach, I think there's a lot of again, similar types of malware that usually leverage the system, not necessarily just shut it down. There's interesting developments. I've actually heard of people mining cryptocurrencies with PLCs, right? Because they are very efficient at calculation. So again, I don't know if that's an accurate ransomware to run in your facility, but it's just something that happens. And so I think like PLCs inherently haven't been as protected because they were so different, right, from like a traditional computer. But now that we are running Linux, we're running Windows, we're running like other third-party software, it becomes more and more important to protect against that. But no, definitely. I think as a side note, Dave, I definitely think we should be having a cybersecurity discussion where we'd bring someone who's a lot more knowledgeable than me, certainly, to discuss these topics for sure.
Absolutely. Am I the only one that's wondering how many Bitcoin Vlad can mine on his PLCNext between now and the next episode?
And there you go.
Don't do that. It's not what it's supposed to do.
I'm sorry, Vlad. You have plenty of other PLCs that you can attempt to mine Bitcoin on.
Oh my!
I could see, you guys can't really see the anxiety on Zach's face when I asked about mining the Bitcoin.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Just don't do
completely
it.
bought out. That's it. It's
more. We're shipping 150 of these up to Vlad.
Yes.
I'll know exactly what's happening.
Yes. Suddenly someone purchased 2,000 PLCNext.
Oh God, I don't know how efficient they are. I would assume they're not. So they're very efficient at running PLCNext technology, PLCNext engineer, and Linux. So for all of your IEC 61131 needs and C++, C# Java type stuff.
No, I like that. So Zach, you were talking a little bit in the beginning where we were talking about IPCs, and then we were talking about IPCs that are running PLCNext, and we were talking about kind of what you guys think the future looks like, and how you guys are always on the cutting edge of what you think, and you're probably getting feedback from your integrator and your OEM communities. Can you share a little bit about where you think the future is going to go, or kind of the feedback that you guys are getting?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I would say if we map out 5 years, right, at the next 2 to 3 years, I would see a continued expansion of IIoT, Industry 4.0, whatever you're going to call it. Cloud being king, getting data to the cloud, making sure that all of the processes are connected, and honestly, that's going to save you money in the long run because you'll be able to aggregate your data and see where everything's going. One of the things that I think, and I don't know if I should drop different manufacturers or whatever down, but there's somebody that owns a rocket ship company that's putting up a bunch of satellites that's going to cover, a lot of the United States rural area with high-speed internet.
Yep.
I think that's going to be
So
a humongous
excited for
thing.
that.
Yeah, I personally think that getting. I think of some of the rural places, even rural Utah. I've been. There's not a lot of connection out there. You'd be hard pressed to find cell phone connection. And if you're, trying to do a tank farm, or you have some type of wastewater treatment plant, high speed data is going to be king there as well. Obviously 5G, but I think 5G is a few more years out when it comes to industry and production. But then I would say the mix of computing power and visualization is key too. People want to be able to see what they're doing. Sometimes that doesn't require for the visualization to be on the PLC itself. A lot of people are looking for that all-in-one type solution, but PLCNext, for example, has an eHMI that it comes with. You can do HTML5. I think we are seeing an ever-growing expansion of these visualization capabilities that don't necessitate an HMI or an IPC to be, very robust. But then again, if I could take an IPC, it runs real-time control software, and I could develop within Windows. I think you'll see a lot of people gravitate towards that just with the familiarity. But that's not to discount Linux either, because you have an entire subculture of, I'm going to sound old now, a subculture of kids. And honestly, this is legitimate. I just showed my kids Make Code on Saturday, and they were both building their own games and sprites using Make Code, and they thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I told them it's kind of what I do at my job, but not really. And then, so now they think I make video games for a living, but I don't.
You probably seem cooler making video games for a living than talking about, control and process and lighting.
Yeah. So this subculture of kids have grown up with C#, Python, JavaScript, they're used to doing it with MakerBots, Legos come with this stuff now that you can develop with. And so you're going to have this group of engineers coming out, and it's already started in the last 3 years, that are good at making things. They're good at developing on a C language or Python, and they have the industrial know-how to make a process happen, but they're not used to IEC 61131. And they'll look at ladder and they'll say it's inefficient. They'll look at even structured text. They'll probably say that doesn't make any sense. Why can't I just use my Java code? And you have the open sourceness of it, of going on and saying, somebody else already did this. It's proven in use concept. I'm just going to take it, modify it a little bit, and use it on my platform. So I think, it's a lot of different trajectories. We'll see, which ones win out the most, but I think that's kind of where the control IPC is going.
Absolutely. So I would say that I certainly see a lot of people on the reusable code side, right? Certainly some of the people from the traditional software, and that's probably not all that dissimilar to your kids, they're like, hey, I need to find a way to do this. Let me go on to Google, right? So I'm going to Google this. I'm going to find someone that wrote the code. I'm just going to yank it and paste it. And if it works, and I don't have to worry about it. So I think we certainly see a lot of people in this industry who have been doing this for a number of years. I know some people that have these libraries going back 20 or 25 years. I think it's just that we don't necessarily talk about it very much, right? And knowing that you've got good code that has 25 years of testing and you can drop it into the next project is exceptionally valuable. So I certainly think that we'll find more people doing that. As to if hopefully by the time your kids are grown and have gone through college, and if they decide to get into the industry, hopefully we will have gotten past the can I program things in something other than ladder logic? Debate. I'm not sure we will, but
I think ladder logic has its place and always will have its place. It'd be ridiculous for me to say that it's going away, something that's that widely used. But I do see that a lot of the people that use it every day are getting up there in age and are on the verge of retirement. And that with this whole new, like I said, a whole new generation of kids that don't do it. And everything that they've been, I took some programming classes when I was a kid, but not to the point where I was able to code my own robot, as a Christmas gift. I'd have loved that when I was a kid, but that just didn't exist. Well, unless you had the Nintendo robot that would play games for you, but that doesn't count. Sorry. But yeah, I think you're going to see still ladder. I mean, when it comes to really simple tasks like opening, closing, holding, you'll probably still see ladder logic used abundantly in the industry and just ease of use. But certainly you're going to have a lot of people out there that are going to want to gravitate to C, C#, C++, Java, and Python. And I would think Python more than Java, but that's just me being biased against Java. So, but I would just think that you'd have a lot more people developing under those. One, because they can use it. Two, because they've used it a lot and it's simple for them. And then three, it's just so prevalent, like it's everywhere. We think about how ladder logic is prevalent within our industry. That's just our industry. These codes are in everything else that we do. No one else uses ladder logic anywhere else. It's just exactly, there we go. We got a Python for the win in the chat. So that's fantastic. I'm not the only one. But yeah, there's certainly I think going to be a groundswell of these new high level languages being used within automation in industrial landscape.
I think in the utopian world, you could just combine those languages to some extent. And I don't think like we're that far from that, you know what I mean? Because you could have different kernels running a different programming language. And again, it could allocate from like one single program. Because again, I think it really depends. Huh?
It'd be awesome if somebody created a controller in which you could use the Linux side and the IEC 611.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
All at one time. I wonder if anybody has ever done that. Hey, what's that controller that's sitting on your bench there, Vlad? What is that? It's the PLCNext. So you can actually run them together right now if you want.
But that's like what I was gonna say is I think it really depends. Like you need to have the option because it depends what your background is, right? Someone who comes with like more of a machine learning you know, that many of the software tools that they run are going to be in Python, but someone who's an electrical engineer or was traditionally programming hardware, they're probably going to know like C, C++, right? And someone who's coming more from like a, I guess, like web development background, maybe games even, that's going to be more Java based. So it's important to have, I think, like all flavors at this time. And I certainly wouldn't know if there's going to be like a merge into like a single language down the road. There's a lot more of them than that, but ideally you can choose what you're going to run. So
I think it'll be interesting, right? So for me, as I was learning PLC programming, it all
Yep.
kind of clicked when I went back and realized, you know, it was all timers and relays, right?
Mhm.
And it didn't necessarily make sense until I realized that we're just taking the physical timers and the physical relays that were wired together and
Mhm.
we're putting them in ladder. And so I have always looked at that and thought to myself, how inefficient is this, right? So we probably took the original ladder logic code and we just copied it off of the literal you know, timers and relays that were behind us.
Mhm.
And why is this timer 15 seconds? No one knows. Like, we don't know if it needs to be 15 seconds or if it can be 3 seconds. And so I've gone back through in some projects and redone some of that. And I think that you can realistically find, you know, 10 or 20% of additional efficiencies,
Mhm.
especially with newer sensors and machine vision. And, you know, all of the, like with all of the newer technology, I think one of the biggest pieces of opportunities is going back through, and as we change out some of those controllers, also taking that opportunity to just rewrite code, right? So a lot of
Mhm.
them were rewriting the code anyway, but like, let's go back to the basic nuts and bolts and understand why it's like that way. And maybe we do some testing to see if we can't find the opportunity to find those significant efficiencies.
Yeah. And I think you'll see opportunity in a lot of the emerging markets, you know, internationally, with greenfield opportunities with brand new platforms, but certainly, you know, brownfield opportunity within
Mhm.
the United States is the massive beast that we're always going after. I mean, there is no way that certain places can shut down and stop. So they're always going to need to be updated, always going to be maintained. So I think for us, that groundswell of brownfield coming into this new age is certainly a great place to start.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know that we've hit about that time. Vlad, did you have any last questions or any questions that that we've missed that we should hit first?
well, I'm curious about the, you know, maybe a new book that Zach has read that he could recommend us since that last time, or any other materials for that matter.
So this is
Awesome.
certainly not one for you know, growing your career, but I just started the Wheel of Time series like a month ago, and I don't think I realized how much I was biting off. It is significant. It's coming out. I think the live action version of it's
Okay.
coming out at the end of the month. And I had a friend, actually two friends, that I told about this podcast. They're probably not listening. It's Jeremy and and Justin.
Mhm.
They love Wheel of Time, but I don't know that I could finish the first book before the series is over. It's
Can you give us a summary without, I guess, revealing any details? I'm not familiar with the Wheel of Time.
yeah, it's a high fantasy book. Bad
Okay.
things are happening, and the bad guys are chasing the good guys.
Okay.
And at the beginning, it's like 15 pages of getting water.
Oh, I'm not sure
which-
I can do it. Like, it sounded interesting until that point, Zach.
So
We were going to do this not sponsored Audible clip unless Audible wants to come
Uh,
also sponsor this clip for Vlad. Vlad, you're going to have to check to see if you can get Wheel of Time on Audible, right?
I got
Doesn't
another
look
one.
like it.
This is actually a good one. I got one for you. So Multipliers. It's called Multipliers. It's about facilitating leadership in your company, being able to take people, seeing their skill sets and
Mhm.
putting them in a role to succeed instead of just hoarding talent and then squashing it. So it's a fantastic book. It's an easy read. That's one I think. It's certainly
Oh,
on. I
okay.
actually have it on Audible right now. So
By Liz
Yeah.
Wiseman, right?
yep, that's right.
Hmm.
I actually think she does the reading too. It's multiple readers in the Audible, but
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
I think I read that. I think I read that.
yeah, she was CEO of eBay, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Very interesting. No, perfect. Thank you for that, Zach. And I mean, we've also almost invited half of the world to come talk to you to ask for a tour of the beautiful facility. But who should reach out to you? Yeah, who should reach out to you with questions? What you guys are planning to do in the future?
I mean, honestly, anybody that's watching this right now, if you have any questions about emerging technologies, control, IO, safety. I mean, even cybersecurity, I might not know a ton, but I can certainly get you in contact with a lot of people here in Phoenix Contact that are our experts. So anybody listening right now, if you're in the area and you want a tour, please contact me first. I have to schedule it. You cannot just come into the building. You will be sent back out of the building. So, but yeah, anybody that wants to talk, if you're at a distributor, you're part of a systems integrator, you're not part of our program, but you want to learn how to become part of our system integrator program, absolutely, please give me a ring. We can help facilitate that. And anybody that maybe you're at an end user and you're interested in using PLCNext to get to the cloud, certainly we can help with that as well.
No, that is perfect. Thank you very much. And then thank you everyone for being here with us. Again, this is episode 36. We have Zach Stank at Phoenix Contact. We moved the camera so you guys can't quite see the Phoenix Contact logo quite as well, but this is our first live show. Please kind of drop comments and thoughts below. If you guys are listening on a podcast, give us 5 stars on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever. I don't think that's what we're calling either of them, but on whatever that Apple is, and go ahead and download it and send it to your friends. And so we will continue to launch the podcast on Thursday evening. And then because it's a Monday live show, we will be back not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, the 10th. The 10th sounds about right, with Bobby Cole. And Bobby will be on, and we're going to conclude our systems integrator theme. Until then, thank you all, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Vlad.